Welcome to This Explainer. Look, if you're tuning in today, chances are pretty high that you're parenting a child with ADHD. And if you are feeling exhausted, overwhelmed, or just totally frustrated, I want to stop right here and tell you, I see you. Your feelings are completely valid. But over the next few minutes, we're going to walk through some absolutely incredible insights that will literally shift your entire paradigm on parenting a child with ADHD. We're going to dive into some fascinating source material from Dr. James M. Greenblatt that takes us away from blame and frustration and moves us toward a scientifically backed, highly effective approach. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap. We'll start with you are the expert, followed by the bad behavior myth. Then we'll look at rewards over criticism, break down the sales strategy, and finally wrap up with learning to let go.
Section 1. You are the expert, trusting your instincts.
Before we even get into the strategies, I really want to validate you directly. I mean, there are hundreds of books and customized programs out there, right? But remember this, not the teachers, not the relatives, not even the doctor is the ultimate expert on your child. You are. You're the one living with them day in and day out. You see their unique potential, their creativity, and all those passions that sometimes kind of get buried under impulsiveness or distractibility. Your intuition is the foundation we are building on today. To really understand what our kids are going through, think about this striking question. In clinical visits, Dr. Greenblatt has asked thousands of children with ADHD this exact question. If you could change one thing with a magic wish, what would you change? Now think about what a typical kid might say to that. A pony? A trip to the moon? Unlimited banana sundaes?
Well, here is the surprising and honestly kind of heartbreaking truth. Nearly every single child with ADHD wishes for the exact same thing. They wish their behavior could magically improve, they wish they could pay attention better, and they wish their moms and dads wouldn't get so upset with them anymore. The reality is, kids with ADHD actually want to behave. They are essentially crying out for help with symptoms they literally cannot control on a neurological level.
Moving right along to Section 2, the bad behavior myth, a neurological reality.
This brings us to a major turning point. We absolutely have to tear down this outdated myth that ADHD symptoms are just some sort of discipline problem or a sign of a bad kid. This comparison brilliantly illustrates the divide between myth and reality. The myth tries to tell us that a child's actions are deliberate, willful disobedience, like they're just being lazy, obnoxious, or demanding. But factually, medically, ADHD is a neurological condition. It's a genetic, nutritional, and environmental medical disorder that causes a real imbalance in the brain. So assigning blame to the child, or frankly, blaming yourself as a bad parent, it's entirely useless. Why? Because neither of you is to blame for a medical disorder.
Section 3. Rewards over criticism, the science of discipline.
So, if it's a medical issue, how in the world do we handle daily discipline? Well, we've got to look at the data. Because kids with ADHD struggle so much with their impulses, they end up misbehaving a lot, which means they face a massive, disproportionate amount of punishment. Over time, that just builds up deep hostility and resentment. The science shows we desperately need a different approach. Just look at this incredible contrast in the research. Neuroscientists at Northwestern University used fMRI brain scan to track boys doing short-term memory tasks. What they found was that boys with ADHD hit high performance and showed the most brain activity linked to short-term memory only when they got large rewards and positive feedback. Contrast that with a massive study funded by the National Institutes of Mental Health. They found that sustained, harsh criticism actually stalls improvement. It literally keeps ADHD symptoms from getting better over time.
And to put that second finding into perspective, 515. That is the number of families the National Institutes of Mental Health tracked over 3 full years for that study. We're talking about a massive scale here. The danger of sustained criticism isn't just some trending parenting philosophy. It is hard scientific fact. Research actually proves that children with ADHD respond significantly better to positive feedback than kids without the disorder. So, what does that look like in the real world? It means building verbal contracts around things your child genuinely values. We're talking extra video game time, picking out a movie for the night, physical affection, special snacks, or maybe those small collectible toys. Whenever you want them to finish homework or clean their room, tie it to a high-value positive reward instead of hanging the threat of punishment over their head.
Which brings us to Section 4, the sales strategy, transforming daily interactions.
Okay, so now that we get the neuroscience behind why we need a new approach, let's talk about how to actually do it. This is the core focus of our explainer today. It's a practical, 4-step behavioral management tool designed to completely transform your daily interactions. It's called the sales strategy,
SAIL. That stands for symptom, ADHD, it's okay, and listen. Let's quickly lay these 4 pillars out so you know exactly what to expect, and then we're going to break them down so you can start using this today.
Step 1. S is for symptom. Now, this very first step, it's entirely a mental reframe for you, the parent. When your child does something that just intensely annoys you, you have to consciously choose to view it not as intentional bad behavior, but as an unavoidable symptom of their medical condition. Seriously, when you feel your blood pressure spiking, silently say to yourself, this is a symptom, not a choice. Now, what's really interesting here is the medical analogy. Think about it like this. If your kid has a bad cold and a runny nose, you don't call them a bad child for sniffling, right? Obviously not. You recognize it's just a symptom of a virus. In that exact same way, if your child is running uncontrollably around the house, that is a medical symptom of ADHD. Neutralizing your own anger really starts with remembering that without your help, your kid can no more stop their hyperactivity than they can stop a sneeze. Which brings us right to A for ADHD. Once you've successfully identified the behavior as a symptom, explicitly remind yourself, ADHD is a medical problem. Your child wants to behave, they really do, but they literally cannot without your help to inhibit those impulses. Putting this into practice means shifting from a posture of punishment over to a posture of coaching. Remember the science we just went over. Criticism is never going to cure a medical problem. They desperately need your supportive intervention.
Next up is I, which simply stands for it's okay. Look, in the heat of the moment, when the milk gets spilled all over the floor or the homework magically disappears, tensions flare up. But let's zoom out for a second. In the grand scheme of your life and your child's life, that specific annoying behavior is probably not a massive deal. There is immense power in just taking a deep breath and telling yourself it's okay. It completely de-escalates the tension in the room.
And finally, L is for listen. Kids with ADHD have absolutely incredible strength, boundless creativity, and often a really surprising amount of self-awareness. If we just stop trying to force them into this neurotypical mold and actually listen, they can articulate exactly what they need to function at their best. We just need to let them guide us.
Let's look at a real-world example of this in action. A parent might assume their child needs a perfectly quiet, totally distraction-free bedroom to study. Makes perfect sense, right? But when Dr. Greenblatt listens to the child, she might say, actually, I study best in the dining room with loud music playing. Now, to a neurotypical brain, that sounds like pure chaos. But to a specific ADHD brain, that sensory input might be exactly what she needs to lock in and focus. If we don't listen, we end up fighting against the very accommodations that would actually help them succeed.
Section 5. Learning to let go. The bonus L.
Now, implementing SAIL is incredibly powerful, but let's be realistic here. There are still going to be tough days filled with fights, defiance, and just endless fidgeting. And when those days happen, resentment builds up. It is entirely normal for you to feel angry. It's totally human. But holding on to that destructive emotion day after day, that hurts everyone in the household. Letting go of that anger is a mandatory step for both your well-being and your child's long-term success. So, the crucial point is how we actively let go. Leading ADHD expert Dr. Russell Barkley offers a really specific psychological restorative technique for this. When you catch yourself stewing and just rehashing your child's behavior over and over in your head, stop. Just stop. Do exactly 3 minutes of mindfulness meditation to reset your nervous system, and conclude that meditation by explicitly saying to yourself regarding your child, I love you and forgive you. You are your child's absolute greatest ally, and armed with the SAIL strategy, you've got the toolkit to reframe the chaos into connection. You have the power to view symptoms through the lens of science rather than anger. So I want to leave you with this provocative thought as you step back into your home today. What behavior will you forgive today?